following 4 Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Hey, it's one more day. It's a new day, and that's me, Double K, coming at you with the one and only Alpha. What's up, my friend?
Last week, we were back in with some wrestling, and now this time around, we're going to be smacking you with some more gory superhero shit. We've done Watchmen, and we've talked about that a bit, and we've now dug into the M. Night Shyamalan series, and now we're digging possibly into the most recent of our gory superhero bunch, and that would be Invincible now.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I've got a suggestion for our next review too, and I'll make it right here live on air. Howard the Duck.
Oh my fucking God, yes.
Yes, take you back to the 90s or to the 80s.
We're doing it.
In that Marvel classic. That'll be in like 2 weeks probably. Maybe a little bit longer. We'll see. All right, so but now I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of how to look at this whole perspective here, guys. When you're listening to us and when you're watching us on the YouTube, Alpha has read the comic book series. I have not. We were just discussing this off air. I have not. So when we're talking about the perspective on what we thought of the show, we're kind of coming from two different angles, but from the same love of the show. This show in general was amazing. And now I'm going to open us up with this. As somebody who has never turned on, seen Invincible, flipped a page on the comic book, nothing. I just recently noticed that there's an Invincible poster in one of the backgrounds of an episode of Big Bang Theory. I think it's like season 9.
Oh yeah.
In Stewart's Comic Shop. Look, not much exposure to it. I had a homeboy of mine, Steve Suave. He was on Double K's with me last week or last episode. He was like, bro, you gotta watch this show, Invincible, animated. It's damn good, bro. It's off the hook, based on a comic book. All right, bet. I can't get enough comic book. Like, you can't.
Comic book substance, right?
Yeah. Captain America, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Captain America, Iron Man.
Inject the shit.
Exactly. Here's vein. Give me IV. Invincible filled a need immediately. Watching the very first episode, just how bloody and gory and just whoa. I said holy shit more times watching the first 3 episodes of Invincible than I did over the first 10 years of watching Marvel. No offense to Marvel. I'm not calling them better than Marvel. I'm just saying.
But in terms of shock factor, though,
there was a lot there. And so, and then you're dealing with Omni-Man and the Guardians, and they drop you into this insane chaotic situation and just villains all over the place. And Mark still hasn't learned he'd have powers. And I walk away from the first episode going, I want more. Give me more. Luckily, there were 2 more episodes to watch that day. So, I did binge watch the first 3 episodes and then followed week to week as they came out. But I'm going to jump to the first scene that had me go, holy shit, this has to go on. Like there's no way this can't go on. And that was the scene when Omni-Man fights the Guardians of the Globe.
Yep.
I'm just saying, man, like, not just the blood and gore factor, but just the fact that, like, replace the O with an S, and it's how I've always envisioned what would happen if Superman turned on the Justice League. Like, what are they really going to do? Realistically. And so watching Omni-Man, especially, like me and Swab have talked about this multiple times, the scene when the red blur.
Oh my God. Red Rush.
Red Rush.
Oh my God.
When he starts out and Omni-Man squeezing his head and he's pop, pop, and he's punching with full fist. Pow, 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 pow,
Yep.
pow, pow, and he's ripping through the thing. And then all of a sudden, by the time you get to the point where his eyes are popping out of his head, his hands are just like limp and just smacking
Like
against,
limply.
just smacking against his chest.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my God, are we really going there? And yes, we went there, and plus some. We went there plus some. So let me stop there, and I'll let you dive in. Your thoughts on just basically how intensely this series opened.
No, I'm very glad that you did this, because I was going to talk about exactly that. Invincible starts off as probably one of the most memorable starts of any comic book series, whether you're reading or you're watching it, because up until the end of volume 1, this is supposed to be just a tit for tat coming of age superhero adventure story. And then by the end, you get a bombshell that leaves you and trails you along a fucking journey of dramatic irony throughout the rest of the fucking show. And what I mean by that is you literally spend the rest of this show as an audience member knowing something that nobody else in the show knows.
Yes.
And so you have that intense case of irony throughout the whole show. Right. And to bridge it straight into Omni-Man here, you're right. How many times have we seen the evil Superman story? You know? Yep. And obviously it is a lot more nuanced than that, you know, when we get to the specifics and nitty gritty of all the different stories here. If you wanna talk about the guy from The Boys, you have Homelander, right? If you want to talk about the ones that are not so subtle, you have the fucking kid from Brightburn. If you want to dig straight into comics, you can look straight at Red Son Superman, who is almost very similar to this. But the best part about this is they chose the scenic view, as I say. They took the long depth, small plot points building up to one overarching story, so that Omni-Man isn't just the as I say, I'm not Dean Ambrose, I'm Dean Ambrose now. He's not just I'm Superman, but I'm evil. It has more serious to do with the fact that it's a spin on not just Superman, but the whole idea of Krypton itself. Right. Of what if Krypton's not at all peace-loving place, but thrived on violence and destruction? And you understand that at this point, that whole Omni-Man knows. And that's what we see at the end, Omni-Man, obviously to the point where we see get to. But it's a very specific take on the story of the evil Superman.
Yeah.
And it comes in that perfect bombshell of the first episode.
100%. Like, well, first and foremost, bravo to the writers, bravo to the people who did casting, because my boy JK, my boy JK was perfect for Omni-Man. His voice, so powerful. Whether he was Nolan or whether he was Omni-Man, just wow. And so then by episode 3, now you're digging into Mark's now started digging into developing his powers. You have the great scene where he's going to take out the trash and he accidentally launches a bag of trash into the stratosphere. You know, you got to have that obligatory scene where, whoa, hey, I'm strong. You know, but once again, this sequence led me to another one of my favorite scenes, which is the scene when Nolan basically punches his son, knowing his son is indestructible, punches his son for real the first time. His whoa, like Dad, don't give it to me like that. Like, and it created a very good bond, or a very quick bond between not only you and the character of Mark, but between you and the character of Nolan as well, because now you have this father-son bond. Now they're bonding over. I liken it to the way that it made me feel when Jonathan Kent started developing his powers in this season of Superman and Lois. It was just like that.
That's what I was going to talk about as well. Like exactly. Like this without the focus being on Omni-Man is almost like a fucked up retelling of what Jonathan Kent could be. Right. As in Superman's son, Jonathan Kent.
Right. when you begin to see that, and then the relationship with the girl, let me just dig into this now, guys.
It's important to girl you're talking about. You're talking about Adam, Eve, or fucking Amber.
I'm talking about Amber. I'm talking about the black girl. Okay.
Good. So let's rip this.
Love her to death, but I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, I'm gonna say it like this. I had a conversation with Swab about this in the episode where they kind of revealed effectively that she knew the entire time that he was invincible. Now wait a goddamn
awesome. You're
minute.
Going straight for it.
Hold up. You're holding me responsible for being late all those damn times when you knew I was out there saving the world and fighting. You knew and still got pissed at me. What kind of petty bullshit is that? Come on now, man. Like, look, I get it.
Right.
There are ups and downs to being with a superhero. But one of the downs is they ain't going to be on time nowhere because of the fact that there's always somebody to save. There's always somebody to save at any given moment. A superhero only is not a superhero when they don't want to be a superhero for that day. It ain't got nothing to do with people not needing to be saved. It's just like that scene with Omni-Man when he's there with his wife and I think they're like in France or something. And some alien starts second. He's like, let him earn his money. Not my problem. Like, that's the only time.
Let's Cecil earn his fucking paycheck.
Exactly. That's the only time that a superhero is not a superhero, is when they choose not to be. So the fact that she held that shit against them kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like the fact that she literally was like, but I'm still pissed at you anyway for being late all the time. What?
Exactly. It's just one of those things, bro. And it's great because you can obviously see the road that this is all paving towards, obviously. But just to keep it nice and subtle here, I'm going to be straight up. Amber as a character drives me up the fucking wall at this point. Like, it's all understandable up until that point, exactly. Up until that point, there's a point of rationalization that she is ignorant to what is going on, right?
Right.
But when you look the man in the eyes and say, yes, I know your secret identity. Thanks for telling me. But fuck off. You didn't show up to my soup kitchen. You want me to sympathize with her? You want me to look at her and like believe that there's a valid argument? Especially considering that at that point, the motherfucker was getting his rib cage caved in by fucking Falcor with a golden mace? You're shitting me.
Oh, man. Don't even get me started on that shit. Like you watching on TV, this dude getting lit up. He getting lit up, and you like, but he ain't here. He that wouldn't be happening if he was here.
Yeah.
It's just again. Props to the writers on writing the character in such a way that even though she's a fictional character, I still wanted to just reach through the TV and slap her animated ass. Mm-hmm. Not to mention the fact that it was quite obvious that she knew when it got to the scene when his best friend figured it out.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's like, okay, how can you not
if the dumbass comic relief figures out, it's the seeds of the bitch already knows.
Exactly.
And see, that implies that she watched his ass get beat in that college and knew, and then still did what she did right after.
Right. Exactly.
And I understand where they're going with this, because the end game is obviously fucking comics. Spoiler alert here. It's all paved towards Adam Eve having a much, much larger part in this, and a much bigger part by the end of the show. And I'll get into her character a bit more as we go on here. But Amber's portrayal isn't exactly the most likable as we come down to the end of the first season.
Yeah.
And and I'm not gonna get too much into that, but there has been a lot of changes to Amber's character, not just in terms of presentation, but in terms of like the way that she is one physically portrayed, obviously. But there's some flubs in the way she's written, not flubs, but when you write a character and you have everything in their source material in the comics, right?
Right.
Imagine, again, if I gave you 6 lines about the character in the comics, in the movie translation, I'm only going to be able to give you like 2 or 3. So it's not as in-depth and contrasting of an approach to the character, and it's not as depth and it's not as humanizing. Okay. And so I understand that Amber isn't going to be able to be portrayed as accurately.
Okay.
So I get that, right? Right. That all being said, she's still a fucking cunt, though. Go
ahead. All right. So kind of moving off of her, let's handle this real quick. I love the portrayal of his best friend as this, and this is going to sound really horrible, but you have to understand where I grew up in, kind of a modern day homosexual, as opposed to the classic trope gay person. He was presented as everybody. You know what I'm saying? He was presented as my homie down the street. He was presented, and it was just so nice, especially in animated and in television, to see it portrayed like that, as opposed to this flamboyant dude who's all over. This dude stomped the shit. You killed the dude that I love. I'm stomping the living holy shit out of you. And that's exactly what he did. And I loved every minute of it. And so for me, I love that particular character, his best friend. Like I said, especially once he found out that he was Invincible. Like, he was off the hook then. Like, hey, dude, can you fly me somewhere? Like, okay, yeah, I get it. Your girlfriend dumped you. Yeah, whatever. Can you fly me somewhere, though?
But can you fly me, though?
It was just...
it's accurate. Yeah. It's accurate, because it's like you watch Harry Osborn react to his best friend getting superpowers, and it's like, oh, cool, bro, nice. No, in reality, this is how it would be. It'd be like, bro, you're flying my ass around. Why didn't you tell me you're not actually my best friend? Now you got to do this, and this for me. Let me wear the suit. It's a much, much more humanizing approach to the structure of the character. And I feel like it's much more respectable to the entire character as well, that it's something that we had to figure out and go along with. Right. It's not something that, like, for the first moment he's introduced, that's the point of his character. No, you build him up as first he is a best friend, he's a good person, and he's there for his friends first and foremost. And then we move forward and build all those context clues. That's the shit. That's what I like to see right there. Let me put it together, damn it.
Exactly. All right. So kind of jumping subject off of the main course. The Hellboy character, I forget his name.
Damien Darkblood.
Yeah. I liked him. It doesn't really seem like he served a purpose other than to be that dude that knew. It feels... Yeah, exactly. It feels like really his only purpose in the entire first season, or in the entire series so far, was just kind of to tip the wife off to the fact of what really happened. He really didn't seem to serve any other purpose. Before the dude was like, well, we already knew that he killed him, but you just tipped off the wife and fucked everything up, so we got to send you back to hell. Like, I was just like, well, damn, I kind of like dude. Like, I want to see what was going to happen between him and Omni-Man. Like, damn, well, all right. Fuck that.
As you can tell, fuck that then. I would have loved to see that. I wanted to see that. But you'll see the on-running theme here is they kind of put their own twists on some of DC's things, obviously with Protectors of the Globe being literal mirrors to the Justice League in super obvious fashion. Damien Darkblood is obviously supposed to be some weird fusion of Constantine and Hellboy mixed into some weird amalgam. And it works great. It works amazingly. I do like him, but you are right though. When you look at it like that and look at like every scene that he was a part of, he does kind of feel like he was just there to be a foil, Yeah,
pretty much. But outside of that, Omni-Man's relationship with the government, it's funny to me. It's funny to me because you begin to see the source material, because I immediately, in his interactions with Cecil, responded back to, once again, this season of Superman and Lois, and Clark's interactions with Lois's father as a general. And he's like, you've got a responsibility to the world, man. We need you to save the world. Like, you have to be here. And that type of attitude, I saw that parallel almost immediately. And I was like, okay, I see you now. I see you.
Yeah.
And felt it, because it felt like Omni-Man was like, and what the fuck are you going to do if I decide not to? Like, he did it. he did it reluctantly, but the side eye was always, and what the fuck are you gonna do? As Cecil
and just
said,
so you would know, I could break you over my fucking knee, like.
And as Cecil said, $400 billion for the world's most expensive nosebleed.
Yep.
But
Yep.
we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, like it was just one of those type of things where once we get into the finale, all of that makes sense. Like the side eye, his attitude, all of that makes sense with what his end game was. Or is, because evidently he's still the primary villain. But I like the fact that, and I'm just kind of jumping off of him for just a second. I like the fact that they scattered in all these random villains in between. You had to have this kind of, without having a training montage, you had to kind of have this training sequence over this season of Invincible, or else the final episode makes no sense at all if you don't have that buildup. To him learning how to use his powers and so on and so forth. But I liked it. The whole episode with the aliens that kept coming back. I don't know what it was about the episode, but it just made me smile.
I love that whole episode, man.
And then you had you had basically the Invincible version of the Teen Titans, that I enjoyed. I enjoyed the entire storyline with the robot dude that eventually became a real kid and all that, just because he wanted to try to be with the girl. And like, I enjoyed all of that, but I'm left speechless. I'll have more to say once we get to that final episode. But as far as how everything was written, how all the characters intertwined, I even love the interactions between what was the dude with all the bombs? His name is
fucking Rexplode.
Yeah, Rexplode and the black dude that was part of the original Guardians of the Globe. The interactions between those two, loved it. The scene when he's like, here, want some beer? She's like, and what do you know? He goes, here, want some milk or something like that? And he's like, I poured it all out and replaced it with beer. And it's like, what the hell, idiot?
The fuck?
But
man.
Loving every minute of it. Loving every minute of it.
Just oh, you done?
No, go for it.
Just make sure. Just a real quick, the fucking you brought it up just a bit there. The voice acting is fucking stellar. I didn't expect, I'm walking into it, I was like, oh, I know Stephen Yeun, obviously having watched the entirety of The Walking Dead. I'm very familiar with his work, and I've watched a few of his other works. So I'm familiar with his work, and I've never heard him voice act, though.
Yeah.
And the moment I heard his voice with the character, perfect fucking fit. As you talked about, J.K. Simmons does what J.K. Simmons does and acts his fucking ass off, even at this point. Purely through voice, he matches the intensity of everything Omni-Man could be, even down to down to the Maulers, Mauler 1 and 2. The fact that they're voiced so well, and the fact that every time they're on the screen, they're the behind them, the song that accompanies them is a different Run the Jewels song, which might not matter to somebody who doesn't know, but it's even more important that Run the Jewels is a rap duo of two rather large dudes that make a career out of intertwining each other's verses within one another, kind of like DC Boy style. And so when you see that matched up with the Maulers, it fits 100%. Way more coherently when you know all that shit with it, right?
Right.
And so each little bit of sound work for each of the characters and in each of the themes fit in fucking perfectly. The sound design, amazing.
It reminded me of Heavy Metal. If you've ever watched Heavy Metal, the soundtrack and the animation and the storytelling in that movie all syncs perfectly to create this awesome experience. But all right, we're down to about our last 5 minutes. So let's dive into this finale. First and foremost, props to J.K. Rowling and props to the Invincible writers. She was nothing more than a pet line broke my heart.
Oh no. Oh my God, that line.
I was like, damn. His wife, she was nothing more than a pet to me. Just like, wow.
Mm.
Wow. when you get to see that side of Omni-Man, it's like, wow. The man literally kills like what, 50,000 people just trying to teach his son a lesson. Now, for those of you guys who don't understand the build up to this is where that comment that I made about the $400 billion nosebleed. Before he actually engages his son, they attempt to slow down an Omni-Man and stop him with literally everything that they could possibly think of, including a gigantic $400 billion space laser that they shoot from the heavens.
Plan Y is orbital fucking space cannon, bro.
Yes. And it hits him. Like, don't get it twisted. They didn't miss.
Point blank.
They didn't make that mistake. They hit him full force and gave him a nosebleed and made his nose bleed for about 2 seconds before he destroys it.
No, you miss it. They hit him twice.
Oh,
they hit him once when he's flying, and then the second time at point fucking blank with him going against it, and he still rips the shit in half.
Oh man. And yes, and that leads to Cecil's amazing comment about is a $400 billion or $4 billion nosebleed, the most expensive nosebleed in the world. And yeah, they throw everything at this boy, and it just really gives you a gauge of exactly how strong Omni-Man is and how unstoppable it is. It's not like the man just ripped apart a couple of jets. Like, this man ripped apart every single thing that they threw at him, including the Immortal, who had one of the most amazing rebirth sequences ever.
Oh my fucking God.
Set up, and they're like, we're going to control you. Where is Omni-Man? And he rips off the controls, and they're like,
wrong, motherfucker.
Think he over there, over here,
that way.
We don't know. But yeah, like, you know, and then he takes off and goes and fights Omni-Man, and yeah, that was a battle and a half.
Yeah, man, I was really sad. I mean, no, not sad. I was really scared going into that because I was so fucking jostled that they wouldn't animate that singular little, like, because that little backstory that the Immortal has in like 5 seconds there, that's literally like a page and a half worth of panels at that point. So I was sitting there hoping and fucking praying that they were going to make sure to add that in, and it wasn't just going to be the sequence and then him waking up.
Yeah,
it was all of it, and I'm so fucking happy because that gives just enough context to make the Immortal's death just that much more salt on the wound, you know?
Yeah, he rips him in half. And of course, that's the moment in which his son realizes, wait a minute, my dad's the one who killed the Guardians of the Globe.
Yeah.
And that starts us off on what has got to be one of the most post-traumatic stress syndrome situations and sequences I have ever seen in my life. Omni-Man proceeds to destroy not only Mark, but everything in his path to show Mark exactly how small and fragile the human race and worthless the human race is. He goes as far as to take his son and hold him out by the skull and literally basically split a subway car in half with his son and everybody inside of it. It was just like, see, they're all weak.
You're invincible, ain't you?
You know, I watched it simultaneously with Suave. Just to give you a little bit of backstory real quick, Suave actually was watching the final episode. He was talking about it so much, he hyped me up. He paused it, and we synced it up and watched the rest of the final episode together. And when it got to that subway scene, we were just like, oh my God.
Yep.
Dear Lord. And so I'll let you take it from there, sir. But just
yeah. See, this fight is one of my favorite in all of comics for a very large reason here. Because it takes a little bit of thinking, as it always does. But this whole fight here, does Mark even really ever land a single hit? Or much less even go for a fucking hit?
Nope.
Because that's the idea here. Mark's name is Invincible, not because I'm bulletproof or it sounds cool, That's because in probably the most on-running sequence going on through this show, Mark doesn't win because he knows how to fly or because he's strong or for any of that shit. It's purely because metaphysically he doesn't give up. It's the old adage in comics that willpower and grit are able to physically extend your life to a whole nother degree. And we've seen this a million times over. Yeah, I can do this all day. Is the gimmick. And we've seen this a million times over with Captain America, Spider-Man, and The Thing are like the top 3 examples that I use because they've made a career out of using their willpower to do shit much higher than their pay grade. And that's Mark's whole gimmick here. Nobody is going to be on the same level as Omni-Man. You can't beat Omni-Man, but you can outlast Omni-Man.
Or say Dad with a broken jaw. I learned it from you, Dad.
Where'd you learn that name?
Exactly. That was exactly what popped to mind when that happened. When he was just like, what do you get? I got you, Dad.
Yep. Where'd you learn?
What? Really? That's as bad as the Martha. Why did
Where'd you learn that name? Where'd you learn that name?
But I guess if you're gonna have a season 2, you can't exactly have Omni-Man just beat him to death right then and there. Like so you kind of gotta have that. This
is what I like to say, one of those season 2 anime moments, and you'll be able to understand this. So season 1 of the anime ends, right? And the main villain of season 1 is a pile of dust on the floor, right? During the final 5 minutes of the episode of season 1, you'll be met with the scene that everybody expects, with the final boss of season 2 standing on something high, looking down at them and saying, oh, and giving some sort of line about how they're going to be next.
Yes.
This, spoiler alert, is all in reference to the fact that very far down the line, Omni-Man is going to return and we're going to see the face-off again. But obviously the story between this and that point is about seeing Mark become as strong as Omni-Man. So that this is one of those, I'm going to come here and kick your ass and I'll be back by the end of the show to have an actual fight sort of feuds, which between the two of them is probably going to be so much more fucking deeper than that, right?
Amen. All right, I'm going to have to stop us there because we're kind of working on a constrained time schedule. That was Invincible Season 1, guys. Coming up next, we're going to be talking Mortal Kombat. Get over here. And we're going to have some fun with that. And we're also going to talk some Disney's Bad Batch on the second half of the show. So keep with us. We'll be back in about 2.5 minutes, according to commercial break listing. And then we'll be back to talk some more movies and TV with y'all. This has been the Cheap Pop Podcast. Peace. Right here on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network, Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio. Peace. You're listening to the Cheap Pop Podcast right here on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network. Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever you may find your favorite podcasts.
Interruption in progress. Now hijacking into ANS 2.0 immersion rig. Now simulating the Amazing Nerd Show. Featuring comics.
And Batman's like, you're safe here and everything, but the Joker all of a sudden pulls out a gun and shoots himself.
Movies.
People fight with lightsabers. What the hell do you want? I mean, in every one of these movies, there's a lightsaber battle.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna rewatch it a million times.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, give me something more.
Wrestling.
That would be awesome. Oh my god, just a monster. Fans would be like, holy, what the hell's going on? What happened to Jericho?
Horror.
It starts off like any other like home invasion type of story, and then it just goes crazy.
And more.
Hey, this is Christian.
Hey, this is Damon.
And we are the Amazing Nerd Show.
Make sure to download us on all your favorite podcast platforms.
From the galactic depths of the comic book universe comes the ghosts of the stratosphere, ready to galvanize and energize your mind with the latest of comic book news and reviews. And why are you stopping me? Yes, that's much better. Hi, this is Andy Larson for Ghosts of the Stratosphere. Join me every week along with my co-hosts Rob Stewart and Chad Smith, as well as a cavalcade of fantastic comic book guests as we dish out heaping helpings of the greatest and latest of comic book news and reviews. New shows posted every Tuesday with bonus shows every first Friday of the month. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher under Ghosts of the Stratosphere, as well as on our website, www.gotstratosphere.com. Hope to see you soon, folks.
Hey guys, this is Venice, and I've got a message from a friend of mine about my favorite podcast.
It's your boy, Flavor Flav and Full Effect. Check this out, everybody. I want y'all to go check out TJ.
What's good, everybody? TJ Johnson here for Voice from the Underground. I am the most handsome.
Big Hass.
And I'm smoking my cigar, of course.
You know what I'm saying? And Josh.
You pick me up in an Uber and a PT Cruiser, I'm calling Lyft.
Cause they be fighting the power, talking about social issues, politics, you know what I'm saying?
And we're not even that good.
Right, we're terrible. Terrible. Tangents all over the place.
And not only that, but they be keeping it fun with the sports, music, comics, and movies too.
Am I allowed to talk?
I think no, not right now.
Shut up, colonizer!
You know what I'm saying? He on Twitter at VFU Podcast. So you can find them. So check 1, 2. This is Flavor Flav. Yeah, boy.
Okay, what Flav was trying to say is, check out Voice from the Underground on your favorite podcast network.
Voice from the Underground.
All right, and we are back, y'all. How y'all doing? Hope y'all enjoyed that quick commercial break there. Me and Alpha did. Let's see. We said we was going to talk some Kung Fu guys to you, didn't we? We said we was going to talk some Red and Yellow and Ermac and Reptile. No, none of them was in the movie. Well, Reptile was, and I wasn't too happy with Reptile's representation in the movie. We'll get to that later.
Me either.
Well, here was the thing that I think turned a lot of people off about this movie, and I'll jump right on into it.
Good.
You opened with a character nobody had ever heard of.
Very risky maneuver, that one.
You know, I enjoyed it because I saw it as them telling me a news story. Yeah. But you started off with a character, Cole Young, nobody had heard of, known of, because he was a character that was made for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so I understand what they were trying to do because they're probably trying to center the whole series around him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think a lot of people cared for that. I think a lot of people wanted exactly what we got last time. Brother dead, come home, grandfather. You know that they wanted that. Mm-hmm. They wanted to jump right into Liu Kang and give me Liu Kang and Johnny Cage and just give me, quick short backstories and let's get to this tournament. Because one of the biggest gripes I hear about the movie is that there was no actual tournament that took place in the movie. Damn it. I actually rather enjoyed the fact this was a setup movie. This was a prologue movie. This was the first of a series of movies.
There you go.
So I didn't expect to get the whole kit and caboodle. If you did, I'm sorry for you. Like, part of the problem that I had with the first movies was I loved it, but there was really no room for a sequel other than just adding some more characters and moving on to the next tournament. You can't
really just do tournament 2. There has to be some more structure to it.
Exactly. I love the fact that they gave us fatalities. In this one, and I mean actual gruesome, like
actual fatalities, not heroic brutalities like DCU versus MK. No, we saw some real skin flaps and shit tearing. It was good.
But they start you off with a brand new character who you've never really heard of, and here was one of my major issues with it. And I think I told you this before off air on one of our episodes. It left me a lot of time going, okay, is this when he's going to become Scorpion? Okay, this is when he's going to become Scorpion. Okay, he's going to become Scorpion now, huh? And he never becomes Scorpion.
Yeah. See, and that's what kills me. Not because that's bad on your end. That's expected from the casual crowd because you see the guy in yellow and he's going for the thing. It's like, oh, wait, that's our Scorpion. That's our Scorpion, right? And then obviously there's someone like me who's played all these front and back, and I'm like, no, that's Hanzo Hisashi, and it's killing me. And so don't get me wrong, I don't hate the character of Cole. And even though, like, from 90% of the people I talk to, they always say, my only problem with the movie is Cole. And they can't really say why. They just say he was kind of uncomfortable. And I get that. But I think my problem with Cole is this, is that in the lore and in the games, we have a character that would have filled Cole's role perfectly.
Okay.
Like, obviously, our goal for this story isn't to tell the story of the Mortal Kombat tournament, right?
Right.
It is to give a deeper dive into the feud and mortal turmoil between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, right? With everyone kind of sort of playing around that as the tournament begins to brew up, right? And so the goal is we have the character of Cole to walk into this, so Liu Kang isn't our main focus again and again, right?
Right.
If we wanted to have a character that is in connection to Scorpion, is a part of the Shirai Ryu clan, and is young enough to be presentable like that, we already have Takeda Takashi in the lore as a young member of the Shirai Ryu. And not even if you played 11, if you played MKX. He has a very large part in that. And so I do question why he couldn't have filled that role, because if you look at his character in X, it is so much like Cole's character, but it has a lot more ingrained depth already. And it has like, his character feels out of place only because you have so many characters set in the outlandish world of Mortal Kombat. Like, my favorite thing about Mortal Kombat is that it looks like a hodgepodge of thrown together fucking characters. You got a cyborg, you got a ninja, a thunder god, Hollywood star, and a cyborg that runs super fast. All right, make fight. Good luck. That's the gimmick. The gimmick with Cole is that you can't really put a tag on it like that, you know? And I think that's where I see the problem with Cole is at.
Fair enough. Like I thought that there was an entirely too quick a development with him to an extent. And they did kind of take almost all movie, or should I say too slow of a development. I thought it should have got to the point where he developed the armor a little bit sooner before his damn near death match with Goro.
Yeah. Kind of felt like Rey getting her lightsaber after the movie ends.
Right. Right. And so at the end of the day, I would have loved to seen him develop that and train with it a little bit more before it got to that fight. Now, here's another side issue that I had, and this is truly just a side issue. The wife and the daughter. I get it. Like you love your dad, you're going to be there for him. And I understand that if they had done what I'm about to say, they probably wouldn't have been there to save him. But God damn it, he told y'all to get inside the house before Goro even came out the damn barn.
The fucking
but you
barn.
got to stand there and watch. Like, see, now he got to worry about saving his own ass and saving your ass. Whereas if you'd have just gone in the house,
damn house,
damn people. But yeah, like that scene kind of upset me. But other than that, the character Cole, I enjoyed you kind of really building him up as this lovable loser at the very beginning. You know, you have him taking whatever fights he can as far as the MMA stuff goes, and trying to get and basically being, like I said, the lovable loser, a guy that loses more than he wins, but he's always trying and he's got heart. You know, and so they built him into that character while at the same time giving us all these other characters like Jax. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my boy Miak Taylor. Like that's my dog, but Jax was just Jax. And yeah. And so, like, I did love when they transformed him into his arms, though. Like his arms were pretty cool. But yeah, like it was There was a lot of randomness to the movie that I can understand people's frustration.
Yeah, they're especially from the hardcore perspective. Even if you look at the casual perspective, it can be a bit disorienting. But from the hardcore perspective, even more so for me, because Jax's character. Do you remember in the games how Jax always loses his arms?
No. It's been a while since I saw it in the game.
That's okay. Every single time that Jax loses his arms, it's always to Ermac.
Okay.
It's always to Ermac. And so this time, it obviously was not to Ermac.
Right.
Jax's arms are always mechanically based. This time, they came from a power. And that, as an extension of everything going forward, does keep with this idea that it's the same story we've seen a million times, but it's a different retelling of it. And
Fair
so
enough.
I do like that aspect, like you said. You know, this I as much as I would love to see this just be Tournament Fighter, the movie for 2 hours, I do like that it is a bit of a different story than the one that we've seen before. Even, and I say this as somebody who's watched MK the movie and Armageddon back and forth. Love those movies. But to go to a reference to that, let's talk about Reptile.
Oh my God! Like, okay, I prefer. This is one of the rare sequences that I actually prefer the original movie over this movie. I prefer Reptile being this creature that eventually looks like or becomes a Lin Kuei type ninja fighter, as opposed to Reptile being an actual like reptile, like 6 foot tall iguana. Like what?
The gimmick of Reptile is that actually he's always been that weird fucking lizard thing.
Yeah.
But he's always been able to disguise himself as one of the ninjas because obviously monkey see, monkey do, right?
Right.
So that's how he's always adapted himself. And I do like that, like in the games, they usually make it so that he can pull off the hood and show his lizard face, but it's never permanent like that. And it is a kind of a reference to the original movie, where in the original movie he was that weird fucking stocky lizard shit. But yeah, you're right.
Like, and it's not. I like the idea of what you're talking about. Like, I like the idea, the original idea of he's somebody who has to dress a certain way or has to look a certain way in order to remain, But just him being a fucking lizard was just like, okay, that was.
No, I want to see the green suit. Damn it.
Yeah, pretty much. And so, but then again, no, they didn't really give us until almost the end of the movie the Sub-Zero and Scorpion Lin Kuei outfits. But I did like at the very beginning, I did like the battle sequence. With Hanzo, like that was pretty awesome. And it made it kind of obvious that okay, when he's throwing around the chain with the dagger on the end of it, okay, you're a Scorpion. Okay, cool. And then that's what kept making me think, because it was obvious that Cole was his descendant. I don't know how I picked up on that. I can't give you the exact moment, but it was obvious that Cole was his descendant. So at that point, it was like, okay. So, and in my mind, I went, okay, so at what point does he become Scorpion? At what point does his dragon turn him into Scorpion? This is what I was talking about earlier. But he never turns into Scorpion. But Scorpion does come back for Sub-Zero. I like their story. I like their story being told the way it was. Because just to randomly have these two ninjas who are going at each other like that really didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It did, but it didn't. You gave a little bit of backstory. Oh, he killed Scorpion's family, but now you actually see it up on screen and you see what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you're right. Like, I really like the way that they played that out. Even if, again, they kind of switched in and messed with a few very specific details, which is fine. But like the character of Noob Saibot, again, Sub-Zero in the games is portrayed by two different people. Is portrayed by two different brothers. Bihan was the original Sub-Zero, and after dying flat out and being transported to the Nether Realm, he makes a deal with Quan Chi and becomes Noob Saibot. And then his little brother, Kuai Liang, becomes the newest Sub-Zero, and that's the good Sub-Zero. Bihan is the evil Sub-Zero. He was the evil Sub-Zero in life. And the interesting change here was that Bihan became Noob Saibot before he even stopped being Sub-Zero in this one, which is a pretty interesting way to run it, because as you remember in the beginning of the movie, we have that spot where he's like, no, I'm not Sub-Zero, I am Noob Saibot, and he has the black armor and shit. And it seems that that's in connection with Shang Tsung this time, rather than Quan Chi. So it's the little changes like that that I find pretty interesting. And I don't think it's fucking horrible. I don't think it ruins it, but I do find it interesting. And Shang Tsung's portrayal this time, instead of being the scheming sorcerer mad scientist that Shao Kahn had as his right hand man, we are already at the point in history where Shang Tsung is already the king of Outworld.
Yeah.
Which implies we are long after the first and second tournament, which is really fucking interesting.
Very true. You're telling a more updated story by using a more updated timeline as opposed to what you saw before. Like I said, I can't wait to see where they continue to go with it. We got kind of teased at the end of it with the potential of one Mr. Johnny Cage, who did not appear in this movie, appearing in the next movie, because it had, just so everybody knows, yes, Mortal Kombat 2 has been greenlit. It's just a matter of when it's going to be shot as opposed to if it's going to come out. So we have no clue on what the storyline or anything is going to be, but the movie studio has confirmed that it's greenlit the sequel. So let's discuss, before we move on to Bad Batch, let's discuss one last thing. There's been a lot of different people petitioning to play Johnny Cage, from The Miz to Ryan Reynolds, to multiple different people. So who do you think would be the best for the Johnny Cage role?
Oh man, that kills me. And I've tried so hard to be thinking about it this whole time, because I do like the idea of Ryan Reynolds. I can hear it and I can see that. But man, am I biased, because I don't know. It's like, look, don't try to hear it, but just try to picture it in your head. Mike Mizanin's shit-eating grin, adorned with Cage's sunglasses and that jacket. I can just see it a little too clearly. And that is what I want to see, without a fucking shadow of a doubt. Is it what I think might happen? Probably not. But is it what I want to see? Absolutely.
I could see either or. After having watched Deadpool, I could see Ryan Reynolds playing Johnny Cage. I wouldn't be mad at either. But I don't think Mortal Kombat wants a name as big as Ryan Reynolds. I don't think they can afford, budget-wise, a name as big as Ryan Reynolds. I think The Miz fits the part in that aspect. Even more so. Sorry. Go ahead. He's not a household Hollywood name. So he would fit well with a cast that's not made up of a bunch of household Hollywood names. So I think that he would be. I think that Miz would be the best fit for the character, even though I could see either playing the character as far as personality wise. Yeah, you're right. I don't know about you, but I was actually really surprised when I was watching this whole movie, and I didn't see a single B-star or AAA name. And this isn't that I was disappointed. I took a lot of delight actually in seeing that all of the talent used for this movie was not super high level AAA name brand. I liked that. And so keeping with the theme of that, I think you would fit in well with that rather than being outshined. You know what I mean? Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
All right. So we're down to our last few minutes. And just a heads up, I hope this is recording. My screen has gone black. So I'm hoping it's just a technical issue on my side, because I can still hear you. I'm still seeing the light on. Can you still see me?
I was going to say, I still see you completely clearly, and my screen says we are still recording.
Okay. So hopefully I'm gonna try something when we shut this off, and I'm gonna see if I can keep us recording, or keep this recording and be able to edit it. But anyway, so Bad Batch. You watched the first episode. For those of you who don't know what Bad Batch is about, Bad Batch is about Clone Unit 99, and they all came out a little different. They all came out with some deficiencies or defectiveness to them that to an extent made them better soldiers. And for the most part, not really give a fuck what anybody else thinks. But hence the name Bad Batch. Yeah. But this story is seeming to be more about my favorite character in the entire series, and that is the young girl by the name of Omega. But we can get to that in a minute. The show opens and introduces us to this Rowley bunch of cats with a scene that just blew my mind. Sorry, excuse me. You had you had the Jedis and a bunch of clones and a bunch of stormtroopers, the eventual stormtroopers, basically pinned down by a bunch of the droids. Roger, Roger. Everybody remembers the droids.
Roger. Watch those wrist rockets.
Right. And in comes the Padawan. I forget which Jedi it was, but in comes the Padawan. He's like, "Where's the reinforcements?" Like, they're on their way. How many of them are there? 5? 5? Yeah, 5. And here they come, sliding down the side of a mountain and just come in and lay out an entire squadron of droids in a matter of about a minute and a half, laughing and joking the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was the ultimate introduction. Like, I literally sat up in my bed and I was just like, this is awesome. I'm like, these guys are awesome. And so, yeah, I'll let you take it from there. But like, yeah, the first 3 episodes of it, I've seen the first 3. I can't wait for tomorrow's episode. Yeah.
Oh my God, please. This in terms of tone is the perfect mix of the depth and nuance of the Clone Wars with the genuinely comedic shtick of Rebels.
Yeah,
it's that dialed up to 12. It's so fucking good. It is the perfect quarter flip because you have the tone. By the end, like I've talked about it before, by the time we get to the end of Clone Wars, right, it is no longer happy campy like I'm gonna go on an adventure with my soldier bros and we're gonna go fucking make some diplomacy with Yoda. By the end of the show, these are real war crimes and these are real wars. What the fuck am I doing? And it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But this is the opposite approach. These are war crimes, bro. Let's go. And instead of Order 66 ruined my life, it's what the fuck is an Order 66? It's fucking beautiful. The Clone Wars and especially the final season of Clone Wars does good to hammer in the idea that not all clones are made the same. And they are often taken advantage of because of whatever mutation or disability they're stuck with. We see the janitor, if you remember, who was horribly disfigured, and so they kept him around even as a janitor. They make use of these defective clones, so it's not surprising that the whole premise of the show revolves around a team of defective clones that end up working better in combat situations.
Amen.
And it plays out fucking wonderfully.
Amazing. And I also love that it immediately, episode 1, 25 minutes in, sets a timeline for you, because you have the introduction of the Bad Batch, and then immediately after, the stormtroopers get the notification, execute Order 66.
Yep.
And turn on the Jedi. So now you have immediately been given where the time frame of this particular show begins.
That's all you need to know about the timing. Execute Order 66 is all you need to know about where the fuck all of this takes place starting forward.
Exactly. And so it integrates you with the characters because the first question you do ask is, wait a minute, they're clones too. And they answer it for you episode 1 too. But the first question you ask is, wait a minute, they're clones too. Why didn't they turn on a Jedi? And they explain all of that to you. By the time episode 1 is over, they explain to you, well, it's the chips in the head, and Order 66 was programmed into the chips. Our chips aren't necessarily as effective because we're defective.
Because we're fucking deformed, right?
Exactly. Aren't necessarily as effective, so it didn't have the same effect on us. And bam, there you have it. Now you know why the Bad Batch was not affected by Order 66. But then the story that they begin to tell you after that just tugs at your heartstrings. It does. Omega is the perfect little character, and you love her so damn much, and you just want her to succeed at everything she does, and you hope that she becomes a good little clone and she gets everything she wants for Christmas because she deserves it.
Right.
because that I have never felt for an animated character the way I feel for Omega.
Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right. I do like the different portrayals of the reactions to Order 66 at this point, though.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite memes to come out of this is like Commander Cody reacting to Order 66. I started blasting. He just starts he just whips around and instantly starts firing fucking ballistas at Obi-Wan. No hesitation. Not a second of hesitation. And then you have Rex, who upon getting his orders did everything to stop himself from coming anywhere near it. Yeah. And then, like I said, and now we're at the point of what the fuck is an Order 66? so seeing all of the different reactions to this, like 15, 16 years after the fact of this implementation into the lore, is fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm. And it tells us that there's still a lot more stories to tell in the Star Wars universe. There's still a lot more stories to tell, and I believe Bad Batch is going to be yet another one. We've seen 2 seasons of The Mandalorian telling us another story in the Star Wars universe. There is, guys, understand this when you think about Star Wars. Star Wars isn't just the movies. When you meet somebody and they're a huge Star Wars fan, and especially the ones who have been Star Wars fans for years, this goes far beyond the trilogy. The trilogy is just where it all began, because that was really our first look into the Star Wars universe. But in the 40 years since the inception of the original trilogy, we've seen an entire galaxies, a whole universe, races, entire races of creatures and spawned from this. And we're still seeing that development in Bad Batch. We're being introduced to new characters. We're being reintroduced to old characters. You know, Star Wars isn't just Luke and R2 and Yoda anymore. It's Dooku and Obi-Wan and a young Obi-Wan and fucking Mace Windu and fucking, you know, and what was the Rex, the clone, you know, it's
Rex.
Man, okay, so you haven't gone, spoiler alert, you haven't gone past episode 1. In episode, I believe towards the end of episode 1 is when the sniper dude, what's his name?
Yeah.
Begins to turn on the rest of them. And yeah, if you haven't seen episode 2 or 3, spoiler alert real quick, by episode 3, they give him his own squad. And it's him and 4 human, like not clone, 4 human stormtroopers. And I was like, oh, this is getting good.
Bro.
This is getting good.
That's fucking awesome. You're right. And you're completely right in all that. You know, like I always say, like, look, you can say what you want about George Lucas as a writer, as a producer, as a director, as a fucking human being, as an approach to his writing in comparison to Lord of the Rings, to Game of Thrones, to what the fuck ever, right? You can there are a lot of things you can pin Lucas for, but you cannot pin George Lucas for being bad at world building, because George Lucas has done the most successful thing with this shit that you could possibly do. He made a perfect fucking setting, a world so impeccably detailed and well built that you have enough source material to span your ass years and years after dead. That is the sign that you've created a world that functions as a living, breathing aspect of fucking writing. It does it for you, damn near, especially when you have other people working on the material for you. It's much like how H.P. Lovecraft started his whole entire lore. Lovecraftian lore isn't H.P. Lovecraft's everything he wrote. Wrong. H.P. Lovecraft wrote 1/3 of Lovecraftian lore. Parts 1/3 and 1/3 made up by 16 other motherfuckers that took the style with him. That's what we're seeing Lucas do, but with something called a AAA galaxy monopoly. It's fucking mwah.
100%. And it's another world that did that too is Gene Roddenberry. Gene Roddenberry is on that George Lucas level. I know the people don't like the comparison of Star Wars to Star Trek, but in the sense of world building, Gene Roddenberry started out with a single show.
Yep.
and built an entire galaxy out of it. And that show and that process and all of that is still running today.
Absolutely correct.
But on that note, we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
All right.
Guys, thank you for joining us. Like I said, next week we'll be back to talking to sweaty men. And if this keeps up, man, another week, we might be talking the slow and unfortunately steady decline of AEW's ratings, even without competition. Some would blame it on the Warriors game last night, Warriors-Lakers game, which saw the highest ratings ever. But I don't know. I just consistently see AEW dropping from 1 million down to 900,000, now down to 800,000. And I'm not saying NXT is any better. I'm just saying maybe the product's not as spectacular as everybody's saying. Just saying. I like it. I love it. But.
You're right. My position on it is so many people were so glad seeing them move that they could watch both shows, not realizing that, again, competition breeds the best possible version of yourself when you're pushing yourself to do that shit. And I'm hoping that AEW didn't fight for a fight and then give up after the fight ends.
Yeah.
Because ever since the Wednesday night wars have come to an end, it's getting a bit slow. It's not bad. By all means, it's still entertaining, but you can kind of see a tempo change. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%. All right, so I'll bring us home this week, y'all. We'll see you next week. We hope that y'all take care of each other. Y'all have a good time. We hope that y'all enjoyed this episode, and we'll be back with y'all hopefully on Sunday night, if not, definitely Monday, where we'll talk this week's AEW, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, and the WrestleMania Backlash pay-per-view that happened on Sunday.
Oh yeah,
good stuff happened, and weird stuff happened. Check in with us to find out what the weird stuff was. All right, y'all. That'll do it for us. Alpha, any last words?
Oh, you know how it is, my people. Please be safe. And my final message to you this week is in light of recent events. Rest in peace, Jerome Young, otherwise known as New Jack.
Yeah. Straight up.
Peace.
Peace.